Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Finance and Accounting Show. And today we have a great guest on. Now, I've been subscribed to Ryan Lazanis's newsletter because there are a lot of great things in there. So if you are running an accounting and a finance firm, you definitely want to pay attention. But also, if you're not running an accounting and finance firm, there is still a lot of great value in the things that we're going to talk about being creative and just being smart about the way that you're growing your business. So you definitely want to stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of the Finance and the Accounting Show. This is the place to go for small business owners. If you're looking for a great way to understand the finance and the accounting side of your business, you're in the right place. So stay tuned and enjoy the episode. So I'm excited about bringing my guest on. And before we do, I definitely want to say, a lot of you have asked about, you're loving the show. We've done over 480 episodes in the last 19 months, and you really love the show. The show is a free show that we have on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on podcasts, but you guys have been begging me for a way to support the show. So we've created a Patreon page where you can visit the tip jar if you would like to support the show. Have at it and really enjoy this show. Let me bring on my guest, Ryan. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Welcome. And wow, 418 shows in 19 months. You're a machine, Terrell.
It's been one of those things where, my wife laughs at me. She was like, sometimes when you set your mind to do something, like you just like go all in.
Good for you. Good job.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, it is definitely a pleasure to bring you on. As I said, I subscribe to your newsletter because I think there's so many great things that have helped me rethink some angles about, like I said, the way I'm thinking about my business, and even have told some other people about, your newsletter as well. So before we jump into the details of that, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so my background is I'm a CPA. I'm born and raised in Montreal, Canada. And I started an accounting firm in 2013 called Zen Accounting. It's one of the first or one of the earliest online accounting firms in North America when I started it. And started that from scratch, scaled it up. And 5 years after starting it, I was acquired by a large corporate services firm based out of Europe. And following that, I founded Future Firm. And Future Firm provides coaching, content, education, community to modern accountants that want to quickly grow a scalable, systematic firm that gives them a great lifestyle. And I've been coaching over the years, providing a lot of content over the years. In January, I launched my Future Firm Accelerator online coaching membership, which has over 450 successful students in the program right now. Everybody getting together online, helping each other out. So I can go on and on about that, but I want to be respectful of your time here. And just having a lot of fun helping accountants at the moment.
Nice. It's always amazing when you can start into a business and you have people who have done it before. Like, you can learn from people who have gone down the road before you, which is something great that you are doing. But what I want to go back to is you started your firm
Yeah,
before there was like a roadmap for it. So what was that like?
that's the whole thing. And that's why what I'm doing now with Future Firm, that's why it exists in the first place. Because when I started my firm, um, nobody was working on the cloud in 2013, and nobody was really using cloud accounting software. And the service experience that business owners in the digital age were receiving from their accountants was very archaic. And I just wanted to provide an easier experience to these business owners. And so there's a lot of new concepts I had to play around with when I started the business. And keep in mind, it was my first business. So on top of trying to start a new model, I had no clue what I was doing when it came to run a business in general. So, I reached out to our professional order, our professional body, to try and get some support. They were, there was nothing that they could help me with at all. I tried to find other organizations online that could help support me. And really there was nothing. And I had to go through it all alone. I had to make all the mistakes. I made every mistake you can possibly think of. A lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted money, a couple of gray hairs later. And, I ended up figuring it out, but it would have been so much easier if someone just showed me how to do it. So yeah, I'm not sure if I was directly answering your question, Terrell, but I really didn't know what to do when I was starting that kind of model.
Mhm. Gotcha, gotcha. Now, I guess as you kind of, like I said, you learn kind of the hard way of just like, you were a pioneer charting to a new unknown territory. I mean, where it's like accounting firms were around, but not doing it the way you were doing it. As you were kind of working through those, did you get a lot of pushback from, I guess you say other accountants that were doing it more the traditional route?
Yeah, a lot of them thought that it would just never work. I remember when I quit my job and I told my boss what I was looking to do is like, nobody's going to want to work online with you. It's like people want to go see an accountant in an office. Nobody wants to do this on Skype and use these tools. Like it's never going to work. And every step of the way, when I was trying something new, trying to like, even just have something as simple as a subscription offer for accounting services and advertising those online, people thought that was a stupid idea. And tons of people are doing it now. When I was going after Bitcoin and blockchain based businesses in 2013, 2014, a lot of the partners at the big firms, they were snickering at this. They thought it was a silly idea. So all these things along the way, I guess I just trusted my gut. And I was also personally interested in a lot of things that I was attacking. But yeah, a lot of accountants really didn't think any of these ideas would work out.
Awesome, awesome. So, as you kind of, develop your fortitude to kind of work through that, and you started, learning along the way. I mean, were there any resources that you kind of picked up along the way that that were good for you back then and helping you kind of navigate that?
Looking back on it now, it was the relationships I built with others that were in a similar position as me. And I haven't really thought about that in a long time, actually. So that was a good question. And that's kind of what I'm doing now when I think about it with my Future Firm Accelerate program. I'm helping connect people in similar situations. But I remember when I started my firm, there was two other firms in Canada around the same time that popped up that were doing that more online model. And although we were competitors, we all became friends and we all shared ideas. And we all talked about like, well, what do you think here? What do you think there? And still to this day, I'd consider them friends. Actually, one of those firms is now my accountant. And just connecting with different people in the world, other parts of the world, in Australia and US, meeting and then linking up with them at conferences. That really went a long way, I think, to helping me find my place, I guess.
Mhm. Gotcha. One of the things that I think is amazing about your story is, you started learning these lessons, before technology got as advanced as it is now. Because I mean, the cloud technology that we have now wasn't what we had, back in 2013. So, do you feel like, starting it back then and having that perspective, it allowed you to really understand, the fundamentals behind how to actually leverage the technology to grow your business?
I think I've always been interested in technology in general. I've always been attracted to technology and disruption and different kinds of business models. I'd argue that the technology has actually not evolved that much since I started my firm. I was using Zero, I was using Receipt Bank. That was the core tech stack. There's a variety of other apps that we were using. Um, they didn't work as well back then as they do now. They were a little bit more buggy, but the core of what was being done with those apps has not changed much. There's new apps that have popped up. So I think, yes, I became more comfortable with those apps and how to integrate them. And likewise, people on the team as well. But yeah, I don't think things have radically changed, but definitely getting started with those apps in the early days put us in a very good position to understand how we can use technology to make things easier, not just for ourselves, but for our clients as well.
Mhm. Gotcha. And there was something else that you brought up. I mean, that talking about, like I said, in those early days, the relationships were really, a phenomenal thing that was a resource that when people think about their resources, a lot of times they don't always list relationships. And I mean, which is why, when you're talking about future firm, it really, stood out about like, building the community. So what has that been like, being able to help build that ecosystem for relationships that were so important to you, but now you're able to kind of help facilitate that for others.
So I think that this experience has been twofold. One of them is for uh, my own selfish interests from a business model standpoint, because the power of community, if you can connect people together, that's great from a business standpoint, because people want to stay around with that community that they've connected to. The other thing is, though, there's not many of those quote unquote modern accountants out there that are looking to innovate their business. And I wanted to connect all those people together to help them share best practices, avoid those pitfalls. So that's been a new experience. And really, I think that community component started coming together through my newsletter. And I didn't really have any master plan for my newsletter. I know you mentioned that you're a reader on the newsletter, which I appreciate. And I started it a couple years ago. Just every Tuesday morning, I would send a couple tips, tricks, and pieces of content out to firm leaders that want to create a more modern model. And that just started growing. And people started messaging me and saying, "Oh, wow, I'm really happy that you send these emails to me." And I said, "Well, there's a lot of people like this. Can I create a more structured community around it, where these people can get together with one another, where I can teach them the lessons that I've learned growing my firm via online courses? I can support them when they need help from me via different types of coaching. And in the platform, there's a community forum where all these like-minded individuals can get together and ask each other questions and help advance everyone's goals." So again, maybe I'm rambling a little bit, but it kind of just came together. I think started through the newsletter and then just took shape from there.
Nice, nice. Now, talking a little bit about the newsletter, like I've referred to it from the different things that you, like said, you put in there. You know, when it came down to creating that newsletter, when you first started off with that, at what point in that newsletter did you realize, like, hey, you know what, this is actually a great resource. I should continue.
Yeah, that's a good question too. I have to think back on that. Um, I think a lot of things that I've done have not really had a grand master plan. I've just kind of jumped into it, and then it's like, oh wait, this could be something, and then I develop it further from there. So I think the first, um, when I launched my future firm website, my first blog post was why I'm starting a blog. And I just wrote like my thoughts. It was almost like a journal of like, okay, like this is the next phase in my life. I just sold my accounting firm. I'm looking to maybe help other accountants. This is why I'm starting a blog. By the way, if you want some updates, sign up to my newsletter. And with very little promotion, I posted that article on LinkedIn, and with very little promotion, I got like a bunch of people signing up to the newsletter. So I was like, okay, now I got to write something maybe every week. So then I just started giving my thoughts in the newsletter, curating content that I saw out there, and people were reading it. People were opening the emails. People were commenting. People were clicking on the links. And I said, let me just continue. So I think it really started from the very first edition I'd sent out, and it hasn't stopped since then.
Nice, nice. I love it. I love it. So now, if people are interested in being able to get signed up on this newsletter, where can they go to find it or to sign up?
Yeah, so they can go to futurefirm.co/newsletter. This is really for accounting firm owners, leaders, partners, people that want to create a more modern, innovative model. They want to scale their firm. They want to systematize it. They want a model that gives them a better lifestyle. And every Tuesday morning, I just send tips, tricks, and curated content to people's inboxes. Content that could be easily digested. So, you could read through it quickly, and it's just there to help you out. It's not there to sell. It's just really there to help people out and help people improve their firms.
Nice, nice. I love it. I love it. So now, talking about, like I said, some of the, the tips and the tricks and the things that you share in there, and the things you've learned from observing other firms, what's some of the things that you've talked about in some of your newsletters?
I think the big overarching theme is, how can you create a scalable, systematic model that you love? Because a
Mhm.
lot of accounting firm owners they're stuck running a business that they don't love, that's stressful, that, they're working a ton of hours. So how could we change that model around in a way that gives us a better life? Because that's what we started business for in the first place, is to give ourselves more freedom, more flexibility, a better lifestyle. Most people go into an accounting firm to running an accounting firm thinking that's what they're going in for, and then it snowballs into some chaotic mess. And I want to show them, like, here's how we can handle these sorts of things. Here's how we could run a modern firm that stays ahead of the curve, that you love. And a big theme is, how could we systematize? How could we standardize all components of the business? And if we can do that, there's the marketing components, the pricing components, the sales components, the people side of things. How can we standardize that all those aspects of the business? If we can do that, we can have a better business on our hands.
Nice. You mentioned about, like, say, when people think about an accounting and finance business, they go into it like, hey, I'm going to run this business, and they end up with this ball of mess. So I want to dive a little bit, and some of this may be a little theoretical, is,
Sure.
why do you think, that mess forms when it's like, it's almost like, hey, I was going to make a cake. I see the picture on the box.
Yeah.
I got all the ingredients that the box says, but somehow my cake is not turning out to
Yeah.
look like what's on the box. Like, how does that happen
So
for?
that's a good example, because your analogy is assuming that people have the recipe where they don't have the recipe. So I see it all the time. And it happened with me too when I started my firm. You just start, I need clients. You just get as many clients as you can, whatever clients you can. And then you just continue down that path, and it snowballs, and you're not deliberate in your actions. There's no intention to your actions. And there's no plan, there's no master plan that you created to help you get to where you want to go. So there's a lack of planning, there's a lack of understanding what that recipe actually is, and it's just bouncing around a left, right, and center from the very get go. So I think that's the reason why you see that.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, I guess for you, was there like a kind of defining moment that helped you kind of realize, when you were initially going through your journey of, hey, I just kind of taking on every and any type of client. Like, I kind of need to clean this up. Like, what am I actually doing? Like, was there a defining moment for you to kind of that caused that light bulb to come on for you?
I mean, it never was that chaotic mess that I see in a lot of cases. I think
Mhm.
from, like, early on, for some reason or other, I was pretty disciplined in my decisions, but I probably lacked a master plan. So maybe I wasn't growing as fast as I could have. So it really wasn't that chaotic mess. I think I did a good job standardizing. I think, my whole thing was, how could I make things easy for everybody? That was the premise for starting this firm. So it was really centered around that concept from the get-go. So I was very disciplined on, like, standardizing different areas of the business, which helped me significantly. But I was still lacking. I'd probably say some direction. And reflecting on that, as I was getting approached by different firms that wanted to acquire us, that's when I started realizing, well, I maybe should have had a bit of a better plan. And the next time around, when it comes to my next business, I'm going to map out exactly what my objectives are, where I want to end up, what my ideal life looks like, and then reverse engineer the plan to help get there. So it's been a lot easier the second time around with this business. And I've been a lot more intentional and deliberate. Once again, Terrell, I'm probably rambling a bit here, but I never had that really crazy, chaotic mess like a lot of firms. But it could have probably been better if I was more intentional and deliberate and had a big master plan in place.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. You've talked about, how, Future Firm Accelerator is a great opportunity for people to be able to connect and develop those relationships that were so critical for you. They get access to amazing insight, amazing support, amazing wisdom. Can you repeat that website again, where people can go if they're interested in, becoming part of that community?
Sure. So it's futurefirmaccelerate.com. And when people sign up, it's a membership model. People can come and go as they please. There's no fixed term. And they get access to trainings that are going to show them how to create a more scalable model in a variety of areas of their business. And going to get some coaching from myself whenever people get stuck. And there's a fantastic community of over 450 others just like them that are building cool businesses that they can connect with. So that's futurefirmaccelerate.com.
Awesome. I love it. And the final question that I always love asking every guest when they come on is, when you think about, your experience of where you've been and what you're doing now, what are two pieces of advice that you would share with other firm owners? And it could be something you've already said, or it could be something new.
So two pieces of advice, not just one, but two. All right. I got to think about that one. So the first one is, what I learned going through the A to Z on my last business is I should have been more focused. I should have started with the end in mind, meaning I should have clarified what I really, really, really wanted out of life, and then put a plan in place that paves the path to get there. Most business owners don't have a plan; they're just going day to day. And I think it's important, if we want to create a great business that we love, we have to be very deliberate in our actions. So I'd say that is the one piece of advice. On the second piece of advice, when it comes to accounting firm owners, again, if we want to have control over this kind of professional services model, I think it's important that we look at standardizing as many aspects of the business as possible. Most firm owners are a slave to their business because there's just no real model in place, and there's lack of standardization. So that's really what those are two big lessons that I think I've learned along the way.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for being an amazing guest on the show. It's been a pleasure having you.
Terrell, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Finance and Accounting Show. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.